The rich, good earth that is Britain, from the small hedged fields with a horse-drawn plough and modern tractor work often side by side, the larders of this land are stocked and supplemented in time of need. Upon this soil are bred and fed livestock whose strain has enriched the world. Beneath this earth lies a treasure trove of mineral wealth from which has been fashioned, by toil and sweat, the mighty edifice of industrial Britain. And upon this good earth walk folk with heads held high in pride of birthright, with heart and home open to all who come in peace to share the blessings and freedom of British soil. The farmyard of Britain. The lichen-covered roofs of ancient barns speak of the harvests of yesterday, while they house the equipment of today. For while the farm has outwardly changed but little since it was built to withstand successive centuries of British climate, beneath the cloak of antiquity, a modernized and scientific industry is at work. While the traditional delights of the huge open fire may still cheer the eye in many a British farmhouse, electrically heated housing for livestock, mechanized milking processes, and up-to-date harvesting methods pay their contributions to the revival and survival of the British farm. Wool was the staple of Britain's earliest export trades. The damp climate, disliked though it was by many, encouraged the growth of a sweet grass upon which sheep thrived and whose flesh and wool gained a world renown. Cared for by wise legislation through many centuries, the woolen industry of Britain still ranks as one of her basic industries, and British sheep and the cloth woven from their wool stand as high today in quality as ever in the past. Moderation is the keynote of the British genius, as the Greeks merely believed it of theirs. Moderation implies a hatred of exaggeration, of too deep emotion, of a too public exhibition of sentiment. And the Britisher's religion is taken with the same moderation as he takes his pleasures. Church and state are, in Britain, complementaries, not irreconcilables. And the Britisher's churches are the ancient pivots around which his firm-based social system calmly revolves. Shakespeare, Bard of Avon to Britons, first master of language wherever English is read, spoken, or understood. Any picture can serve only in a humble way to pay homage to England's greatest man of letters. Since the days of his writings, the pens of many other Britons have added their wealth to one of the greatest exports of this land, the literary gems of its language. Today and tomorrow, millions of feet of dyed, sound-tracked film will continue to give posterity the words and pictures created in a former century by the pen of the Bard of Avon.
And Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers.
Here is an ancient craft, which holds its own against the threat of the machine. Despite the invention of dynamite, gelignite, even atom bombs, gunpowder is still a widely used explosive, and the shotguns of sporting Britain call for as much charcoal, one of the three ingredients of gunpowder, as the burners can provide. Slow combustion at a carefully regulated temperature is the secret of good charcoal, and the process calls for constant watchfulness on the part of the burner. Garnet-coloured spires of Bacchus, white-tipped above the yellow gold of barley and the deep green of hops. The wooden cowls turn to catch the winds which blow from every point of the compass. Capricious winds, which make typical British weather, as the oast houses help to make the typical British drink. In sun-bathed harvest field, in the snug chimney corner of village taproom, in city bar and suburban pub, the flowing tankard of British beer has been and remains the national refreshment first in favour. It is a far cry from the wooden ships of King Alfred to the steel liners of today. But the excellence of workmanship which gave Alfred a fleet capable of beating the sea rovers of the 9th century is still patent in the quality of modern British shipbuilding and marine engineering. It is on her shipping that Britain's life depends, and on her shipbuilders, who never yet failed in their vital task of giving Britain a navy and merchant marine capable of meeting every call made upon a nation to which her shipping is her very existence. If it is historically an exaggeration to say that it was the little fishing boat which beat the Armada, it is true to say that without it, the Armada would not have been beaten. And it is equally true to say that Britain's trawlermen must take as great a share of the credit for winning the sea war as any other branch of the King's Navy. Their skippers, with a wavy ring or two on the sleeve of their shiny serge reefers, the crews went sweeping the mines with as much care, and no more fear, as though they had been trawling for herring. Both decorations and casualties were heavy among the men of the little ships. Hard by Southampton Water is the old castle of Calshot, and at no great distance was the birthplace of the supermarine Rolls-Royce S6 racing seaplane pictured above, outright winner of the Schneider Trophy for Britain in 1929, and later outright holder of the world's airspeed record. The S6 seaplane was the ancestor of another aircraft by the same designer, the supermarine Spitfire, which proved, in the defence of this homeland, that the aircraft of the foe, though formidable, were no match for British design, British engineering, and British skill and courage in flying. The black diamonds below the ground of Britain have for centuries been one of her chief sources of natural wealth. Not only has coal been one of the most important exportable commodities we possess, but it has provided the essential reservoir of power for the tremendous industrial expansion which has taken place in Britain during the last century. The coalfields of England, Wales and Scotland, now under process of modernisation, will continue to rank among the most important in the world, since they yield a mineral of unrivalled quality. In attempting to give a pictorial pattern of a people whose history is akin to their land in its ever-changing scene of sun and shadow, it is difficult to avoid omissions which represent the half-tones. It is still hoped, however, that these pages will answer the question, who are these British? In picturing the simple truths which lead to the traditions, the factors of toil and tolerance which have made Britain great in that she is united. The oldest parliament in the modern world, 7 centuries old mother of democracy, and model of every similar institution from Washington to Moscow. Because it is 600 years older than its oldest rival, that the Icelandic Althing and the Manx Tynwald were not quite the same thing, it has a tradition of reasonable compromise, which reflects itself in the modifying influence that its atmosphere has, even upon the most immoderate of reformers. The voice of Big Ben, heard throughout the world, is symbolic of the endurance which is Britain's heritage.